Hi everybody! Hi every spirit, welcome very much to the channel. Today let's take a look at the spiritual meaning behind the word grounding or the concept of being grounded. Thank you very much for watching, and sometimes I like to analyze the meaning of words because everything that it's created is spiritual. I don't know why I did air quotes over there. Especially words, because not only it's a mean of communication and a mean to express our internal world, but the whole world, the whole existence, materially speaking, and into certain spiritual levels is frequency and vibration. So the words, the sound, the frequency and vibration that we use and the meanings behind it are very, very important. And it's also a way to understand the mechanisms and the processes that we come up to develop those worlds, right? Show us certain spiritual or mental and emotional principles. So, being grounded, right? You got grounded as a kid, and sometimes you ground yourself. Let's understand the differences and the similarities. So usually as a kid you get grounded when you do some nasty business that your parents or people at school, right, they didn't enjoy what you did. So you get grounded. So what happens when you are grounded? You're not allowed to do certain things. Maybe you got grounded against a wall or something, you got grounded in detention, in a room, or just you couldn't play video games when you came home, something like that. Or you couldn't go outside to play with your friends, or you couldn't go out to party at the clubs when you were older. But the key point is you are not able to do something that you want. You're not able to do something that you desire, or you're not able to do something that you imagine having a good time doing, or that you are attributing value to. And that's the main point. Being grounded means that you can't travel or you can't get high, spiritually speaking. And usually getting high without being with the use of exclusively, without exclusively being the use of substances, but the use of substances do have the same effect, making you high, making you feel good, or making you travel spiritually, mentally, and emotionally, and sometimes physically. When you're hella drunk, sometimes you travel physically and you don't remember. That's a way of being high, right? So being grounded is the opposite of that. It's limiting your ability to fly and to travel spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and physically, right? And especially as a kid growing up, the way you were grounded or why you were grounded can make you ground yourself in the future. It's not really about what you did, it's more about how you see the fairness and the value of what you did versus the measure that was applied to ground yourself, right? For an example, if your parents would punish you, like really limit your experience for something that you didn't see as a kid, or right now you don't see as important, you might have the tendency to ground yourself even in subconscious ways. As in, you have an imagination, or you think about, we can do this, let's go do that, we can achieve that goal. And immediately after, you ground yourself. You bring that imagination, you bring that spaceship, the vehicle that can travel through space between you and other locations, you bring that down. You either don't even let it take flight, or as soon as it takes flight, you shoot it down, right? And that can really happen because you have a lot of logicality, a lot of earth or air-like alignments, or because you basically got used to that. It was done to you so much, or maybe not a lot in terms of frequency, but it was done in not so many times, but the impact was very impactful. So you develop the way to normalize that situation so you don't feel stressed spiritually, mentally, or emotionally, right? So being grounded, it's actually very important. If you are a parent, for example, you have to be very careful to how you ground your kids, because being grounded or grounding somebody is more a way of teaching something than punishing. Because a kid, spiritually speaking, because we have grown up people that are kids still, the why they do things that are not socially acceptable or just mean stuff in general, it's because they don't understand its consequences. So grounding a spirit is forcing a spirit to understand that the space that they were in was the wrong space for themselves or for the general environment, aka other people, right? So if that is a great way to teach and to show value about something that that specific spirit was not valuing. But when you start to be in a grounded space as punishment, which it's all about the percentage level, right? It's about a balance, because being grounded is always a form of punishment. But when it's more a form of punishment than a form of teaching, then it's the wrong way. You know what I'm saying? So then when you, as a parent, do ground your kids too much or too harshly, the kids will develop a coping mechanism and they will ground themselves in the future. And you don't really want to do that, because you don't really want to limit other spirits' experiences without it having value. You don't want to make another spirit fear existence, fear life, and fear the possibility of going to another space, of traveling and experiencing something different. And grounding somebody else, grounding another spirit for reasons that are not good reasons. Of course, I'm generalizing here. We'll go a bit more specific in the further part of the video. Will develop most likely into those spiritual traumas where the spirit is in a good imagination, it's on a good spaceship, ready to go to a new space, and then the spirit itself brings itself down because in the past they got used to that, right? So one of the worst things, or one of the worst ways, or one of the worst reasons, I mean, to ground another spirit is when it has to do with socially acceptance or social etiquette. For example, once I was a scout boy, right? And we were like all reunited, having a good time, and we were sharing food, sharing sodas and whatnot, and somebody else opened a big bottle of Coca-Cola. And another bottle of Coca-Cola was already open, and my mother thought it was me, and it wasn't even me, right? But my mother thought it was me, and because it was socially wrong, which wasn't, it was just very weird, right? At least from my perspective, it wasn't wrong. She punished me. She grounded me into the car. She locked me in the car for a couple of minutes, and so I was not able to experience the party and the environment. And then once I got out of the car, things were weird. People were reacting weird to me and my mother. So that is one of the worst ways, or one of the worst reasons to ground and punish another spirit. Because in a way, socially acceptance doesn't really matter. Spiritually speaking, it surely doesn't. But we have to be a part of a society, we have to be a part of a community, so we must respect certain social cues. But being unnecessarily strong in the punishment, especially in grounding, limiting the ability of a spirit to experience something else, because social etiquette is wrong. Very, very wrong, right? Grounding should be because you weren't responsible, you hurt somebody else, you didn't kept your word, you hurt I already said that, you hurt yourself maybe. Because a lot of people, especially teenagers, emo teenagers, quote unquote, they hurt themselves, so they need to be grounded. They need to be told that's not right, it's not good for you to go to those spaces, so stop traveling, stop flying to those spaces and be grounded. Stay in a safer environment. You know what I'm saying? So, being grounded reflects the ability of another spirit exerting their power over your spirit and stopping your ability to travel somewhere else. And it can be really good when it's used to teach that the space that you were traveling into is wrong, but it can be really bad when it's more of a punishment instead of a teaching method, and especially for the wrong reasons, like social etiquette, just because like sometimes parents don't know what's right for you, or teachers, or just even like older cousins or older brothers, but they want to assert their authority, so they ground you. They limit your experience physically, emotionally, mentally, or spiritually. That's also wrong, right? Because it's really bad to limit the experience of another spirit, it can be very useful, but also most spirits only go to war when their imagination is challenged or cancelled, when they have this idea that it feels good, it feels exalted, it feels like they can do something new, they can go and experience something different and expand, and somebody is blocking that. Then it's when the spirit go to war. So if you're too harsh on your kid or little brother or your students and you ground them too much for the wrong reason, it will be very likely that they rebel against you, and then they will ground you in a subconscious way. They will be a disappointment for you, like, aka your perspective about them is not able to travel very much or very further, because they will bring you down. They will make it a responsibility for themselves to make sure that your perspective about them doesn't go very further, because you have been punishing them and grounding them too much. You know what I'm saying? So make sure you grounding your fellow smaller spirits, because a smaller spirit cannot ground a bigger spirit. It's always a bigger spirit or a spirit that has achieved a position of authority that can ground another spirit, right? Make sure if you are the bigger spirit, make sure you are grounding the smaller spirits for the right reason, and always or whenever possible as a way to teach and not as a way to punish. You know what I'm saying? Thank you for watching. I wish you the best thoughts, ideas, feelings, and emotions. A whole bunch of individuality, creativity, and responsibility as well. And I see you on the next time.